Okay. So why don't we, it's 5:02, why don't we call the meeting to order? Do we have a quorum? We have, I guess we do, right?
Yeah, I think so. We only have 5 members, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Did
so
we-
we have a quorum.
Did we get clarification on who's been seated as regular members?
I haven't heard a word from anybody about any of that. I just know Lori and Robert are new members. And I haven't, are they considered alternates? I don't even know.
That was the plan. So if everyone's in agreement, I will just put that everyone was seated as a regular member.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do, you know, with Cammie being gone
Yep,
Right.
gotcha.
or being absent, I should say. Okay. So, by the way, I anticipate at least one phone call from Claire Bassett. She called me earlier today and indicated she was going to call in. Oh, she's calling my phone. Hang on 1 second. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Hi. You're actually calling my cell. I don't.
I know, I can't get in because it's asking me for the password.
She has to call the phone number on the agenda.
I don't think you need a password.
It's asking me for password.
Okay.
I hit the meeting ID and I hit pound and then it says enter your meeting password. Hit pound and I don't have one.
Okay. Belinda, did we determine that callers need a password to get in? I don't think so.
Scott, I can't hear you.
Oh, hang on, Claire. Let me hang on 1 second because I picked you up over the audio. And,
Scott, nobody can hear you.
yeah, Claire. Let me call you right back. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I think I made the mistake of. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I made the mistake of answering the phone from my computer instead of the actual phone. So Claire was saying that she's being prompted for a password to call in.
It's the meeting identifier. It's on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then
Yeah.
you said it prompted her for a password.
And then if it asks for anything else, she just hits the pound sign.
All right, that's what I thought. Okay, let me just call her back and ask her to try that again.
Hello, Claire Bassett.
Hey, Claire, it's Scott again.
Hi.
So once you put the meeting ID in, if you just hit pound after, you should be able to get in without a password.
I hit that pound and then it says ask for your password. And I said, well, maybe I don't need one. Hit pound and it said you did not enter a number. Goodbye.
Okay, hang on a second. She said she tried that and it cut her off. It wouldn't let her go in. But could you guys hear her over my phone? Because if so, we can just do it that way when we get.
I could.
Yeah. All right. So, Claire, can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah. As long as people identify themselves.
All right. Well, why don't we just have you on by phone then? Because you're probably the only person who's going to call in anyway. If that does that work for you guys?
It's fine with me.
Works for me.
Okay.
Does for me as well.
All right.
Okay.
So Claire, you didn't miss much. All we did was call the meeting to order and then determine we have a quorum.
Okay.
And I want to apologize for my dogs barking in the background.
That's fine with me.
It's gonna happen. The chocolate lab demands attention, and when he doesn't get it, he starts to bark. All right, so next up is approval of the minutes from last time. Did everyone have a chance to review those?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I think we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 As far as I could tell, no one's opposed. All right, so those are approved.
I'm
Melinda's
sorry.
trying to get your attention.
Robert and Lori can't vote. They have to abstain.
Yeah, right, okay. All right, but the rest of us voting to approve is good enough, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, that was the members that were present
right,
at
Okay,
that
just-
meeting.
Just clarifying. Sorry, guys.
no problem.
Yep, no problem.
All right, now, the minutes from the last meeting said that, talked about whether we should redo the vote for chair and vice chairs now that we have new members on. Do we need to handle that now, or should we do that after?
I think we need to do it now because otherwise it's not a valid meeting.
Right, okay. So basically, all we did last time was go around the table and indicate whether we voted for Scott as chair and Cammie as vice chair. And
I think we have to renominate you and Tammy
okay,
and then vote on those nominations.
yeah, that
Is
sounds
that
right.
right, Melinda? Okay.
Unless someone wants to nominate someone else.
No,
I would
I'm happy with that. And I'll nominate Scott as the chair and Tammy as the vice chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. So all in favor, I'm going to abstain on the vote for chair, obviously. Why don't we just go down the list? Mac?
Yes.
Okay. Lori?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Okay. So it looks like I've been renominated and voted again as chair. And then let's vote on Cammie as vice chair. I'll vote first in favor. Mac,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
All right, that passes as well.
Excuse me, Scott, did we have to renominate her or just vote on her?
Well, Mac renominated both of us.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that.
And I forget who seconded it already, but
Okay.
So, Robin, did you second both of the nominations then?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Make that assumption. Okay.
all right. So this is the next on the agenda is citizen comment. No one has called in yet, other than Claire, who's on the line. But seeing no citizen comment, why don't we pass that for the time being and see if anyone else calls in. If so, we can deal with it. Any old business?
I have none.
Okay. Hearing none, then let's move to new business. We have two advisory or a request for two advisory opinions. Give me 1 second. You've all received those from me in advance to review. And the first advisory opinion, which is designated 2020-3. The first question is, can a citizen file an ethics complaint against the entire committee or government entity as versus an individual? And this, I should note for the record, Both questions were submitted by Attorney Samuel Browning, and he submitted papers in favor of or supporting his position and asking us to make a decision. So why don't I just start, and I'll indicate that I tend to agree with his analysis that an ethics complaint is properly filed against an individual as opposed to an entire government committee or board or commission or whatever the case may be. Does anyone want to weigh in?
Yeah, Melinda, didn't we have a situation where someone put in an ethics complaint against the zoning board, and we had to take that on as a issue? It was concerning real estate the requirement to have fire escapes or something. It was probably about 2 years ago. Melinda?
I don't recall, so I was going to try to search through my records to see if I could find it.
Okay, yeah, I tried to find it online in our in listings on Norwich government page, and I couldn't find that. There were like 2 or 3 of them in a row about a lady having trouble with having to put fire alarms or something in her building that she was reconstructing. But in any case, it was against the building inspectors and the zoning board, and the zoning board chair replied for the zoning board. And you know, I think the findings were we couldn't find anything that supported the person's input, so we denied the complaint. So, and I think this kind of goes with the same thing. You know, you can put a complaint in against a committee or a government entity, and the only one that really has to answer is the chair of the committee. You know, I'm not sure why all the why it would be necessary for all the members of the committee to provide a separate response if the committee is called out as an entity. You know, so as you know, the chair of the committee would be the one that would respond, not everybody.
I don't remember that, but did you, it must have been before my time, but
Yeah,
did you address it as a committee? I think that's kind of more or less his question. Can they file a complaint against the entire committee? And is that how you address that issue? Or did you address it as against one person?
No, we addressed it as I think it was building inspectors. It was against the building inspectors and the zoning board, and that they were requiring her to make some modifications that she didn't want to make. But, and she was saying that she was being singled out as, you know, as having to make all these changes to her building.
Hmm.
And we found that it was, you know, standard building practices, and that she just didn't want to pay for having all the changes done. So we decided against her and for the, in favor of the zoning board and the building inspectors. So, but it was a pretty weird thing, but I think it kind of goes along with this, you know, if he wanted to, if Charles Evans wanted to put a complaint in against that Mohegan Park committee, he can do that, and the committee chair would be the one that would respond. So I don't see where that's a problem. And I think, you know, it could be that the guy wants to put in a complaint against the zoning board or against the Mohegan Park committee and the individuals. If he had written it like that, then the chair of the committee and all the individuals would have to respond. But he didn't do that. It was just to the committee itself as an entity. And that's, you know, I think you're allowed to do that. There's nothing that says you can't.
I mean, the section 2-51 talks about the purpose of the code being to establish ethical standards of conduct for all officials and employees, which are individuals. And then in the as Mr. Browning pointed out, according to the rules, complaints are supposed to contain sufficient detail so that we as the commission and any person who is the subject of the complaint can reasonably be expected to understand the nature of the allegations. So my read of the code and the procedures is along the lines of Mr. Browning, and the code and the provisions established by the code appear to be directed to individuals as opposed to entire boards. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mac, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it seems to me that that this code is really addressed to individual employees and officials of the city of Norwich as opposed to entire agencies or entities. Anyone else feel differently about that? Anyone else have an opinion they want to offer?
I would defer to your
Scott,
opinion.
Oh, hang on. Did we lose someone? Oh, Max muted. It looks like he stepped away from his camera. But
Okay. And you know what? Just to up front, the internet's acting a little squirrely because of the wind, so hopefully I don't get cut off.
no, all right. Well, if we lose you, call back.
Okay, yeah.
You should be-
I would defer to your opinion, but that being said, basically makes everything that Mr. Evans did already rather inconsequential regarding filing the complaints, because they really don't. There's not a ton of evidence, but I guess at this point we're only addressing the advisory opinion anyway, correct?
Right. We can't really discuss the complaints
Okay.
Because this is considered a public portion of the meeting.
Right.
Gotcha.
I concur with Scott. If I'm a member of a board and there's 15 people on it and 3 of them commit errors of judgment and ethics, why would I be held responsible if they were the ones that actually did those actions or received a benefit from those decisions?
My opinion is, in this particular case, you know, the complainant is addressing a policy decision by the Mohegan Park Committee. So, you know, it's not, he didn't cite all the individuals on the committee. He went to a decision on a policy that was made by the committee.
Right.
So, in this case, I would think that, you know, addressing it as a committee would be the responsibility of the chair.
Melinda, you had something?
I just want to discourage discussing the other cases.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, we can't get into the substance of the complaints. I mean, Matt, my thought though is a policy, if a complainant has a policy dispute, is that really a proper subject of an ethics complaint? I mean, an ethics complaint is you know, limited to did the individual in question violate a provision of the ethics code? Did they get some improper favor or benefit or gift or something, you know, along those lines? If it's simply, I don't like, you know, what the committee's doing, that's not really an ethical violation anyway. That's, you know, if the committee is carrying out the business of the city council who appointed them to do certain things, is that even really a subject of an ethics complaint? I'm not sure it is.
I would say if you go through the ethics code, interpretation still says individual and not committee. So I would agree that if it's a policy violation, this is not the platform to address a policy violation.
Yeah, but he's not, talking about a decision that was made by a particular person on the committee. He's talking about a policy decision that was presented and voted on at that committee.
But that is that complaint specific. I think for the general advisory question, it disregards that at the moment. So just in the general advisory opinion part of it, I still feel it would be individual versus committee just based on the code.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can't get into the specifics of the complaint. I mean, the question here is, you know, simply whether a citizen can file an ethics complaint against an entire committee as opposed to an individual member of that committee. That's the question we need to answer right now. And, you know, regardless of what the complaints, you know, say or how they're framed, we'll get to that later. But this is sort of a preliminary issue that we need to decide and answer.
I mean, I can really see both sides of it, and I would just think that, you know, and that addressing a committee, when they've had a meeting and they've established a policy as a committee and voted on it, you know, there ought to be some redress for a person to disagree with that committee's opinion. And if there is a case where may be seen to have a benefit to one or more persons on that committee, and the committee voted in favor of those particular people, then the committee should be addressing the issue, not the individual.
Truthfully, I actually think, I'm just going to say no. I don't believe at all. That's just a disagreement. That's not necessarily an ethical issue. How could, it's like Robert had said, you can't, just because you don't like how they voted or what they decided, you got to prove an awful lot to say that it benefited one person from an entire committee. And that is not at all, I just don't believe that this, I just personally think this is a no. So I spoke my piece.
Okay. Look, we can agree to disagree, not a problem.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm just trying to flip through the rules here. When it comes to, and maybe Melinda knows the answer to this question, when it comes to making a decision on an advisory opinion, do we vote on that? I mean, do we have to be unanimous in our view?
Yes, yep. Someone makes a motion and you vote on it.
Right. So we don't have to be unanimous. It's just,
Exactly.
okay. Does anyone else want to weigh in on question number 1 before we take a vote on how we should answer this question? Okay. So, well, as I indicated before, I'm going to answer the question in the negative that an ethics complaint is properly filed against an individual as opposed to an entire committee or government entity.
Was that a motion, Scott? Yeah.
Scott can't make a motion.
I was going to say,
He's the chair.
the motion. So why don't I rephrase that and make a motion that we, as a commission, answer the first question in the negative that that's
Scott, you can't do that. As the chair, you can't make a motion.
oh, okay, you're right. Okay, I'm still getting used to these procedures. All
Yeah,
right,
I understand.
someone else make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we respond in the negative to Mr. Browning, indicating that an action should be brought against an individual and not as a committee for ethics violations.
Okay.
I think I'm going to second what he said, but I'm not.
I'm
We flipped you? Is that it?
you're good.
Okay.
All right, so the motion is that a complaint is properly filed against an individual and not a entire committee or government entity.
Yes.
Did Robin second that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all in favor?
I
All right, any opposed? No? Okay. All right, good. So that takes care of the first one. So the second question he asks is as follows. Can a member
Can I interrupt, Scott, for just a second?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that you voted.
Oh, I voted too. Yeah, I'm in
Making
favor.
sure. Thank you.
Sorry. All right, so number 2, can a member of the Mohegan Park Improvement and Development Advisory Committee's Disc Golf Subcommittee buy a sponsorship and receive advertising on a tee-off post on the Mohegan Park Disc Golf Course? And he submitted another write-up describing why he believes that a member of the committee should have the same right as anyone else in the community to buy an ad to which is in effect a sponsorship of the disc golf course. And again, I tend to agree with his analysis. Anyone want to give their opinion or position on the matter?
I would.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, if it was put out to the public, they have as much right to do it as anyone publicly could purchase a sponsorship. If it was exclusive to them, it would be different and unethical. I don't find that. So again, yeah, I don't see an issue with that. So yes, they could buy a membership, sponsorship.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Lori?
I definitely agree. It was put out as an even, anybody can do this. There was no discount to the membership or extra advertising for the same price that anyone else would pay. I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. Robert, how do you feel?
I agree 100%. It was allowable for other people to engage in, and they just happened to be dual role and supporting their own organization.
Okay, good. Someone want to make a motion then as to us answering this question in the affirmative?
I make a motion that we answer question 2 in the affirmative.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. So that takes care of that. So next up on the agenda is the executive session to deal with the complaints. And this is where I would end the recording of our video. And we've got Claire on the phone still. Claire, if we go into executive session, oh, wait a minute. Go ahead.
No, first there would be a motion to enter into executive session. You would do that, and then poor Claire has to leave.
Then Claire has to leave. Okay.
And I believe you also have to state for how many minutes or what the general time period might be.
Okay.
No, you don't have to state the time period, just the purpose, which would be the discussion of cases 2021 and 2022.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into executive session then?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. So Claire, I gotta say goodnight.
Yeah.
Got to vote.
I just want to say one thing.
Oh.
You guys need to identify yourself when you're talking. I couldn't tell who was talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of thought about that. Sorry. Well, we have, there's two gentlemen besides myself, Mac Ballard and Robert Drzezinski. And then the other two members of
Who's
the,
the vice chair?
uh,
You didn't say who.
Karen Lucas, but she's not with us tonight.
Okay.
All right. And then we also have Lori Plouffe and Robin Lawson here. All right.
All right. Call me tomorrow and tell me what happened.
Okay. Thanks, Claire. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So let me just pause recording here. Pause, stop recording.
Somebody play that back. Oh,
All right, so I'm recording again. Thank you, Robert. All right, so Melinda, we're out of executive session. We did not vote in executive session. And does someone want to make a motion as to whether we're going to find probable cause as to the two complaints?
okay. I'll make a motion that in the case of 2020-1 and 2020-2 complaints, that the Ethics Committee can find no probable cause to pursue any part of these complaints, and will respond in the negative to Mr. Evans.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed, correct? All right, so that takes care of that. And then we were going to go back and just clarify on our answer to advisory opinion number 2, just so that the minutes are clear that we're going to be answering question number 2 in the affirmative, that a member of the Mohegan Park Improvement and Development Advisory Committee, the disc golf subcommittee, can buy a sponsorship and receive advertising just like any other member of the public.
I would concur with his verbiage.
Agree.
Does that take care of that, Melinda?
Sure, and also if you could clarify that the complaints will be sealed, stored at the city clerk's office, and remain confidential,
All right, thank you.
okay, for cases 1 and 2.
Right. So based on our vote of no probable cause with the complaints, those are going to be sealed at City Hall and remain confidential under the custody of the city clerk. Anything else? Okay, so I will draft a response and circulate it tonight or tomorrow. So look for that. And then I think we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All right.
Seconded.
Okay, that concludes our meeting. Thank you all, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.